So Jerry Sandusky finally went off to prison, and we found out what his old nickname used to be. He used to call himself the Tickle Monster. Yeah, I got an idea what his new nickname's gonna be in prison. Fist Pillow. All right, folks, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I don't know if you heard that powerful audience of 6 that we have with us today. And but you know what I wanted to talk, we talked about it at the top of the show. This week, Mitt Romney spoke in Houston before the NAACP to make the argument that it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the President of the United States were white again. Romney knew he had an uphill climb speaking to an African-American audience, but after years on the campaign trail, he's used to that long, awkward silence followed by booing. Romney said to the group, "I believe that if you understood who I am in my heart, you would vote for me for president." Of course, nobody will ever know what's in Mitt Romney's heart, including Mitt Romney. One recent poll shows the former governor trailing the president among African-American voters 92 to 2%. Hey, on the bright side, Romney knows all of his black supporters personally and once even bought them all lunch. You know, during Wednesday's speech, he went to great lengths to be conciliatory, saying, "Look how far we've come that one of your own people can screw up our entire economy by himself." Romney acknowledged that barriers still exist for African Americans, especially in his neighborhood. But he promised to improve the lives of millions of black workers by continuing to tip big at the airport. Romney also pointed out how his father, George Romney, had been a strong supporter of the civil rights movement in the 1960s, but that he loved him anyway. Okay. So let's meet. I have a guest sitting in with me. We have Frank Conniff. Hi, Frank. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. How you doing?
If Frank might be familiar to you, he was on Mystery Science Theater 3000
right.
TV's Frank, and now he's with Cinematic Titanic, which is on Hulu.
On Hulu, that's
on
right.
On Hulu. Look him up, Cinematic Titanic. All right, let's get to the show. Hosni Mubarak. Mm-hmm. Right, a lot of stuff happening in Egypt. Hosni's not feeling too good, and I was Hosni. I like that name, Hosni. So I was watching MSNBC, and this is the report they gave.
Mubarak's condition appears to have taken a turn for the worse. The Egyptian government news service reports Mubarak is near death, but his attorneys deny these reports. They say his situation is stable.
Now, I don't know if you can see, but they're wheeling him into an ambulance, and he's wearing his shades. I'm just like, you talk about, those Middle Eastern guys are really macho, is all I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, I think I'm dying. Get my shades. Why do you need your shades? Because I got to get in the ambulance, and there might be some ladies in there.
You know, the first physicians to attend him were from lens crafters.
You know, Frank, it's the ego is the last organ to shut down.
Yes, exactly. And that shows the difference in our cultures, that over there, they're concerned about their sunglasses if they get in an accident. Over here, it's if we're wearing clean underwear. That's important.
Oh, if you get in an accident?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You didn't get that first part out all the way, Frank.
Well,
okay. All right. So let's go.
I had an accident during that.
I understand. So now I want to get to the big story from last week was the Fast and Furious, right? Darrell Issa. Uh-huh. Now I'll try to explain it very briefly. With they had a program where they were called walking guns. So they would give guns to criminals that would take them to Mexico, and somehow it was going to help them track the criminals from Mexico. I don't know about any of this stuff, but I do know this, that Fortune magazine, was it Fortune or Forbes?
Forbes, I think.
Forbes magazine I should probably research this before I did my show. But Forbes magazine totally debunked all that stuff. It turns out they weren't even giving guns and what have you. So all that stuff you've heard Darrell Issa talk about isn't true, right? So you all know this, right? So this isn't new news to you. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm not taking time to explain it. And but Darrell Issa, here's the idea. Why would they do this? Why would Eric Holder, why would Eric Holder want to give guns to criminals in Mexico? I can't think of an idea, but Darrell Issa, here's his idea. Are you ready? Okay, here we go.
They've never answered the question, what were they thinking of? Could it be that what they really were thinking of was, in fact, to use this walking of guns in order to promote an assault weapons ban? Many think so, and they haven't come up with an explanation that would cause any of us not to.
Oh, okay, let's, I'm going to try and explain that. What he's saying is that they were giving guns to criminals in Mexico to create a lot of crime in Mexico. So then the outrage over the crime in Mexico, then the Obama administration could use that outrage to have gun legislation in the United States. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just so crazy it just might work. So that's the idea. So it's kind of like, it's like saying, you know, Hitler, he really wanted to protect the Jews. And what a better way to do it than kill 6 million of them first, and then use the outrage over that to pass some laws to protect them. Unfortunately, he lost the war and got killed before he could do that.
It was a beautiful plan.
It was a
until
beautiful.
then.
Yes, that's basically
The same logic.
that's the logic they're using. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the logic they're using, Frank. Is that so? It's
And
pretty,
many have said it. Did
and
you hear?
many have
And
said.
I wish that some journalist would get an interview with many, because many know about this and could illuminate.
Many. So well, here we'll.
Or maybe a guy named Manny, at least.
It's a very confusing situation.
Yes.
Even Governor Perry went on with Bob Schieffer, and he was confused about it, except he still wanted to make an accusation. Here we go.
What are they hiding? What has gone on that is so important that I'm going to use executive privilege to keep the United States Congress from having documents? This is really troubling. Very troubling to the American people.
What exactly are you accusing the president of here, Governor?
I don't know. I mean, that's the issue.
Yes, even he doesn't know what he's accused. Okay, let's see. I'm accusing the president of 3 things: hiding something, using executive privilege, and what's the Department of Commerce? No, that's not it. Damn it. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that Governor Perry's mental condition is dim, but that interview was held on Nick Jr.
And all I want to say, you know, in Rick Perry's defense, I thought we were done with those kind of gotcha questions. Exactly what do you mean? You know, those kind of gotcha questions. Okay, let's see what the... So now I was watching 60 Minutes, and they were interviewing... I like to watch 60 Minutes,
Yeah,
Frank,
sure.
you know? Sometimes they actually do journalism. And they were interviewing Leon Panetta. Now, I don't know if you know who Leon Panetta is. He's the defense secretary, and
of
like
Defense.
most defense secretaries, he lives by the motto, hey, if you can't enjoy invading other countries, why even get up in the morning? So here he is sitting down with Scott Pelley from 60 Minutes, and the first question he asks him is a stumper.
In how many countries are we currently engaged in a shooting war?
It's a good question. You know, it's
You have to stop and count.
I'll have to stop and think about that because
Yeah, because I didn't know there was going to be math. He really started laughing. He asked him, how many countries is the United States currently fighting in? And that was a giggle fest for him.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of war, a lot of people being killed, but at least we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, he doesn't mean any disrespect to all the thousands of soldiers who are risking their lives and limbs. No, no, no. But you have to admit, explosions are funny. You got to see the look on the Al Qaeda guys' faces right before the drone smashes into their SUV's wedding party.
Leon Panetta is a guy who's never said too soon.
All right, so here's a clip I wanted to get to the last show in our Miss USA segment. We didn't have time to get to it, okay? So we all saw the clip of Miss Ohio. She was asked on first of all, the Miss USA contest. It's unbelievable. It's literally just women walking in clothes. That's all it is. Hey, look, she's wearing this, now she's wearing that. Poise. Okay, so what? So here they asked her a question, can you give any examples of television or movies that show women in a positive light? And she answered, she started off good. Here's how she started.
I think it depends on the movie. I think there are some movies that depict women in a very positive role, and then some movies that put them in a little bit more of a negative role, but by the end of the movie they show that woman power that I know we all have, such as...
Why do they all say the such as? What is, right? That one girl with the such as, the Iraq, such as, remember that? She does the such as. All right, so let's get to Here's her full answer. Here's the movie she recommends to show women in a positive light.
Such as the movie Pretty Woman. We had a wonderful, beautiful woman, Julia Roberts, and she was having a rough time. But you know what? She came out on top and she didn't let anybody stay in her path.
What a great, you know what? When I'm hanging out with hookers at the STD clinic, I always think that their life story would make such a delightful romantic comedy. She said Pretty Woman. You know, Pretty Woman. The inspirational, true-to-life story of a woman who serendipitously finds love during her work of blowing guys for cash.
You know, by the way, I didn't win the Mr. Universe pageant because I listed as a role model Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Otherwise, with this body, I was a lock. But.
Let me thank Frank Conniff for sitting in at the top of the show. Frank Conniff, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Thank you.